What's up, guys? Ben Pollack here, and today I'm answering your questions from the AMA that I posted on Instagram a couple days ago. And to all of those of you who submitted questions, thank you. I really, really appreciate it. I wish I could get to them all. There were over 300, so I can't do that, but I'm going to get to the ones that I think are the most interesting and allow me to share the most valuable answers to you, the ones that I think might help you to kind of frame your own training, your own programming in the best possible way. Okay? So we're going to jump right into it. And my first question was probably the one that resonates with me the most, right? The one that I struggle with as well. And we're going to address it from the powerlifting side and from the bodybuilding side. And the question is, okay, what do you do when your plan is holding you back a little bit? Your program is telling you don't go all out, but you're feeling really good. Do you go all out or do you hold back a little bit? My answer was you always, always, always stick to the program. Always. And some people on the powerlifting side, some people question that, and I don't remember everybody's exact points, but the idea was, hey, if you're having a good day, take advantage of that, hit that PR, build that confidence. And I can see that. I can see that point of view. It's not wrong by any means. But in my opinion, if you're following a good program, not some random ass program, but a good periodized program, certain training days are designed to be submaximal. And the reason for that is you're working towards one particular peak day, right? You're working towards the day when you're going to either do a meet or test out or something like that. And because of that, if you overreach on one day, right? Let's say I had 3x5 planned on my squats and I'm feeling great and my 5-rep PR is 440 and I'm like, hell, I'm put 445 on in the next set. And I get it, but I have to grind it out and I'm so tired after that I skipped the last set, right? And then I have to come back next week and, oh shit, now I look at my program and I'm supposed to set a 3-rep max. Well, that's not happening after 1 week after I killed myself on a 5RM, right? So for that type of thing, I think it's much more valuable if you just save a little bit in the tank. Now, there are obviously exceptions, right? If you're not planning on doing a meet and you don't have a particular day you're going to test out and you just, kind of want to see where your strength is at, well, I can't fault that, right? But in that case, I would say that your programming is a little bit less important because it seems in that scenario that you're training more for fun than for performance. And again, nothing wrong with that, but it's an example about how two different people with two different goals could come to a very different answer based on those backgrounds, okay? On the bodybuilding side, the question was very similar. The question was, okay, I'm dieting, right? And my coach wants me to hold back the intensity some days so that I don't wear myself out, but I feel really guilty. I'm trying to push myself to the limit, and actually I'm kind of half-assing in the gym. And this was something I was guilty of too because I didn't know any better. Nobody told me any better. I thought you were supposed to train all out all the time. What happens is the quicker you tire yourself out while you're prepping for a show, well, the less energy you're going to have at the end. Again, when it counts, right? Because really all the judges are going to see are when they're on stage. It doesn't matter how sharp you look 3 weeks out. If you get on stage and you're so tired you can't hold any of your poses or you're flat and you're not able to fill back out because you've been depleted for so long. So no matter whether you're a powerlifter or a bodybuilder, then I really think if you're planning on maximizing your performance, it's really, really, really important you always stick to the program regardless of how you may be feeling on any particular day. If you're not training in competitive context, you're training more for fun and more for enjoyment, knock yourself out. I got nothing against it. Okay. So the next question is, what trend in the strength training community do you think needs to die and why? And this one's very easy for me, and it's the amount of weight that people place on formal academic research, okay? What I mean by that is you'll say, hey, this is a movement that really worked for me. It's heavy. I'm making something up. Heavy eccentric dumbbell deadlift, right? And somebody says, well, where's the research that shows that heavy eccentrics are going to improve your deadlift at all, right? Because the deadlift is usually just a concentric movement. You're only lifting the weight up, right? In a competition. You're not starting from the top and then having to lower it and then raise it. So why do these help? There's no research for that. I have a big problem with this, and it's not because of the frame of mind of the person asking the question, right? I think it is great if you have an inquisitive mind, if you want to know the reason something works, if you're looking for evidence behind things and not just blindly following them. I highly, highly, highly admire that type of personality. What I don't like is when you place all your weight in academic research particularly, and the reason for that is that in my experience, I'm going to say in my experience, the majority of academic research is flawed. Flawed in a pragmatic perspective, right? Flawed from the idea that I'm going to take the results of this study and apply it to my own life. And the reason for that is there are too many conflicts of interest in academia for many scholars to be able to produce work that is completely unbiased and is applicable to our type of population. And what I mean by that is competitive lifters, or people who at least want to really push themselves all out and maximize their performance and make sacrifices to get there. So here's a couple reasons for that, right? Reason number one, okay, so you're a young professor, right, and you've got your eye on tenure and you need X number of publications to qualify for tenure, and it looks a lot better because you're in a competitive place. It looks a lot better if they're from these very prestigious journals, right? Journals that other academics think very highly of. So, to get in those journals, you have to find interesting results from your studies. You can't just have some middle-of-the-road study that says, hey, yeah, creatine works. It's pretty good. You should take it. It seems safe. You got to have something that's more eye-catching, grabbing, or something that really changes the way people think about a particular topic or idea. Well, it's very hard in weight training because if you look back on what's been done for the past 50 years, not that much has changed, and not that much has changed for a reason, right? So there's a reason we still consider Ed Cohen one of the greatest of all times, and he would still be super competitive if he were competing right now. And the reason is there haven't been all that many innovations in strength training, okay? So this puts the strength training researcher, under a lot of pressure. How am I supposed to come up with something new when really I'm just looking at all these nuances and things we already know? And so because of that, there's this underlying subconscious. I'm not saying these researchers are, trying to make shit up, but subconsciously you really, really want to find these results, and that can change the way you look at your evidence, okay? So that's a less, blatant example, right? Let's take something that's really like, holy shit, I can't believe this. Well, many of these studies that you see performed are very expensive, right? And so in order to get participants for the study, they can't pay people, so they have to get volunteers. And where are they going to get volunteers from? From the school where they work. So your volunteers are going to be professors, and they're going to be undergrad students. So if you look at the general population of undergrad students, I'm sure plenty of y'all are in college, how many look like the lifter that you want to look like? How many are strong as you want to be, right? Not very many. So if that's your population that you're getting this study from, I would argue, again, that no matter how good the statistics may be behind that population, it's still not really a good population sample to begin with. And so it's not going to be applicable to your training. I'm not saying that's always the case. There are many studies that I do think have been around, have been time-tested enough, have been proven in the field, whatever the case may be. There are plenty of examples where academic research is a good thing. All I'm saying is don't put everything into one basket, okay? Use that as one piece of evidence. Use other anecdotal evidence as another data point, right? So that you can draw your own conclusions about what works for you and what works for your body. I know that was kind of a long rant. It's something I'm pretty passionate about because I did have to go through the academic struggle, so I can relate to the researchers on the one hand. But on the other hand, I've been so frustrated trying to implement some of those topics that I see in academic research in my own training that I know that it's not always a great thing to rely on. So this is another question that may or may not be all that applicable to everybody. I'm going to try and make it as applicable as possible. The question was, how has having a large social media presence really affected your training? Has it been good or bad? It's been fucking terrible. It's been the worst thing for my training ever, short of getting injured. The reason for that is very similar to the reason that I talked about in the last question about why you shouldn't always trust academic research, and it deals with conflict of interest. So as a lifter, my best interest is to focus 100% on my training while I'm training at the gym. 100%, nothing else. However, in order to maintain and build a social media presence, well, you have to record some of this stuff, you have to document it, you have to stage some of it. And when I say stage, I don't mean, I'm going to go get all these fake weights and do Brad Castleberry shit. I think that's his name. What I mean is, you have to make sure that, the lighting is set up such that people can see this and it doesn't look like it was filmed with a potato. That stuff takes a lot of time, and it's really frustrating. And that can really throw you out of your game when you're trying to get work done. So that's one small reason. The bigger reason for me is that there's this pressure, I think, to do cool stuff, to get noticed. Again, assuming that you want to maintain or build your social media presence. So, and this is related to Larry Wheels because I don't know if it's true or not, but I saw a video about him tearing his rotator cuff, and people were saying how stupid he was to be attempting 705 or whatever the weight was. After having, popped his ankle, injured his bicep, he's doing all this stuff for Instagram. And first of all, I have no idea whether he is or he isn't, right? Like, a lot of the stuff Larry does looks like hella fun, and maybe he's just doing it for fun. Maybe he genuinely enjoys it. But maybe he is doing it for Instagram, and I would argue that's not that bad. It's kind of a necessary evil, right? Assuming that he wants to be able to devote all his time to training. Otherwise, he would have to have a full-time job, and he wouldn't have the connections to train with the people like Thor and other people who are going to make him better. So there are always trade-offs involved from that standpoint. The reason it sucks, the reason it really, really, really sucks, is because of my personal attitude towards social media and towards individuality. And if you guys have read my stuff, you know I'm all about what works for you, right? Well, social media doesn't work for me. I find that when I do post on social media, I'm more often seeking validation than I am actually trying to share information. And the reason for that is that validation seeking is easier, right? And it's also because you don't have to think nearly as much, right? Like, you have to find a good angle in the mirror. You don't have to think about, okay, what's good information that I can share with people? And so that it's easier, and you get instant gratification, right? With the teaching post, you have to hope that somebody's going to see this information, they're going to find it valuable, they're going to be able to implement it in their own training on their own. There's no guarantee any of that is helping anybody. You just kind of throw it out in the ocean and hope it works. But the seeking validation thing tends to be addictive because you get that instant feedback. Everybody's like, oh, you're so fucking strong, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that shit doesn't matter, right? Like, what really matters is that you're trying to share good information. You're trying to build networks. You're trying to meet people. You're trying to open the opportunity for new experiences. Those are the good things about social media. And too often I find the bad thing. For me, too often the bad things take over. If you have the type of mindset where you can balance those out, man, I really, really admire that. But it's very, very difficult for me. Foad Abidad had, I think, Cedric McMillan on his podcast recently, and Cedric said the same thing. He's like, man, it doesn't matter how many people tell you, man, you're awesome, like, this is 1,000 pounds, or you look great, or whatever. You got the one guy, the one motherfucker who's like, oh, dude, you're on roids, you cheater, fucking whatever. Like, it gets in your head so much because it's like, man, look, I'm just trying to put myself out there. I'm not, it's a conflict because you are looking for the validations, at some level. But on the other hand, you generally want to get those good benefits out of social media. Again, I know I'm going on kind of a rant, and I apologize for that. But these are some questions that I've wanted to get off my chest for a long time. And so I think being able to share them in this type of environment, at least I'll give it a shot. If you guys don't like it, let me know, and I'll make sure I do better, more directly applicable content for next time. All right? I know this has been kind of a long video. I only got to a few questions. If you guys do like these and I get, people ask to keep them up, I'll keep them up. And otherwise, I'll try and go back to more of the instructional in the gym type videos and obviously Project Big Ben updates. So until then, think strong and train hard. I'll see you next time.